Well, hello there. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we have stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. We'll be talking about an expansion to a video game that I played in the past, not on the Stuff and Things Plays channel, but somebody was asking me about this, whether or not I had played it, and I have, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. It's the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. So we'll get into that a little bit. La la la. Mush mouth going on. I'm gonna give you my impressions of Jack Vance's The Dying Earth. Now this is a collection of, I guess, 4 different publications under the banner of The Dying Earth. Many of you will have heard of this series, I'm sure. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. It's been quite interesting. I'm not totally done, but I wanted to give you some initial impressions. And then I have a tin here of 6-year-old Penzance. This was put in this jar, not a tin, a jar, 6 years ago on October of 2015. You can see, maybe, if it focuses on that, I think it is. And I'm going to talk a bit about this. This is a video that you can be looking forward to on Wednesday. We did an actual video about this, but I want to touch a little bit on it here and ask you some questions about it, get your feedback. And then a couple people have asked me, I've talked about trying to do color correction and stuff lately. Hopefully this video looks pretty good. Things are still in flux a bit, but people have been asking me about that, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of that, some technical stuff. And we don't have your questions and hashtag askstuffandthings because I just didn't get enough to do a whole segment on that. But hopefully next week, please keep those questions coming in. YouTube comments, Twitter, all that good stuff. We'll get to that later. But let's get to the first topic here. Okay, upcoming videos. Of course, on Stuff and Things Plays, we are still in the midst of the Valheim series with our good friend Kevin Kevinson. Valheim is a Viking survival game in which you go to a strange purgatory-like land called Valheim, and you try to defeat these bosses. It's very involved with Norse mythology and things like that. It's very fun. I love the game. People are enjoying the series a lot, so if you haven't checked it out, it airs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Stuff and Things Plays channel. I'm almost done. I think maybe I have 1 or 2 more episodes to record, and obviously I'm like a month and a half ahead of the ones that are actually airing on Stuff and Things Plays. And it's kind of hilarious to me. Many of you watch that series, and most of the people who comment are people who also watch this channel, Stuff and Things. But I've been getting more, and I think because Valheim is a popular game, I've been getting more people who don't watch this channel, who are only watching the Valheim stuff, and some of them are so irritated by the way I play that game, and I find it so hilarious because I play it completely blind. I don't look anything up, but it's the kind of game where most people play it with a wiki open on another screen, so it just tells them. There are very many sort of technical things that you could learn about this game, ways to craft, different resources to gather, all sorts of things. And most people who play the game have a wiki open. If they don't know how to do something or they don't understand something, they look it up on the wiki. I'm not doing that, and I'm also trying to talk while playing the game. And some people are so irritated by it, and I find it hilarious to see them commenting video after video about how irritated they are, but they're still watching every single video. And I think that's just a very unique thing about gameplay videos. I see that when I watch other people's gameplay, where it seems like there is a higher proportion of hate watchers than any other sort of YouTube genre. And it's great because they're still watching it. You know, they're watching every week. They're just furious about what they're seeing, but they're still watching. So thank you. Any of you out there, I'm sure you're probably not watching this, but if you're hate watching my videos, keep it up. I enjoy that. We also have, as I mentioned, this video, where there will be a video. I recorded a video about this jar of 6-year-old Penzance. It's not a revisited, and I didn't do a revisited because, first of all, Penzance is super hard to get, and second, because this isn't a typical jar of Penzance, or as you would normally get, a bag or tin of Penzance. It's not fresh. And so if I reviewed Penzance fresh originally, which I did, I would want to do a revisited of a fresh tin as well. And this is not fresh, it is aged 6 years. But it was interesting. So check that out. That'll be premiering this Wednesday on Stuff and Things. Ghosts of Tsushima. Now, many of you know that I have a healthy fascination with Japan, I think. I took Japanese in college. I've always been interested in the culture and history of Japan. I'm not obsessive about it, but I enjoy it. And I played, I guess it came out, was it 2018? No, it hasn't been that long. Maybe it's only been a year. I can't remember. This is crazy. I think it's maybe only been a year. Ghosts of Tsushima came out, and it was this really cool game for the PlayStation 4 in which you took on the role of a samurai who was trying to resist the first Mongol invasion of 1274. And they took some creative liberties with history and things like that because they were trying to make it very evocative of samurai cinema, things like Akira Kurosawa, movies that you would have seen from like the 50s into the 60s. And so, you know, some of the technology they use isn't correct, and obviously this is a fictionalized account of the Mongols invading Tsushima Island off the coast of Japan, kind of between Korea and Japan. But it's a really fun game, really cool. I did one episode on Stuff and Things Plays where it was a You've Gotta Play This series episode, and just talking about Ghost of Tsushima and how much I enjoyed it. But I had a couple people ask me if I had played the new expansion that just came out. They did a Ghost of Tsushima director's cut where they added some stuff. I guess for the PS5 version, they added some upgrades to it. But for every version, they added a whole new island, Iki Island, a whole new expansion to the story. And they were just wondering if I'd played it and if I enjoyed it. And yes, I have. And yes, I did. If you have a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 5, if you are interested in action games, if you're interested in Japan, in Japanese history, even though don't take this as history, it's an interpretation or a revision, I guess, of Japanese history. If you like old Japanese samurai films, if you like Akira Kurosawa, all that stuff, I would highly recommend you play Ghost of Tsushima. If you haven't played it yet, you can buy the director's cut and you get everything on there with the expansion. It is so good. I love it so much. And I'm typically not the kind of person who loves these super, I guess like Ubisoft style Assassin's Creed open worldy kinds of games, because it just seems like there's just too much crammed in there and you just become desensitized to it because there's just too much they're throwing at you all the time. You look at your map and there are 1,000 different markers of things to go do and see. In Ghost of Tsushima, it's very manageable. You can play this whole game and do pretty much everything in it, and you can enjoy the entire experience. At least personally, I never got bored doing the things that you can do in this game. It's the only game on PlayStation that I've ever platinumed, meaning I got every single trophy that you can get. I highly recommend Ghosts of Tsushima Director's Cut. Play it. It's fun. So, we talked a little bit in the last episode, the last Sunday Stuff and Things, about how I hadn't been doing a lot of reading of fiction recently, and I was finding it kind of hard to get back in the swing of that, just because, you know, we're constantly distracted by smartphones. I'm typically sitting at my desk in my office, editing a video while watching another YouTube video on a different screen and then responding to messages and stuff. Like, it's just crazy how we try to multitask and we don't just concentrate on one thing all the time. At least many of us do, and I'm definitely guilty of that. And so when I was trying to start reading fiction again, I was having trouble. Like, it's not that I don't know how to read, I obviously do. But just getting into the story, not getting distracted, and you know, reading quickly and with comprehension. But I will have to say, since just that last video, that last Sunday Stuff and Things, it's back. Like, I'm back in the swing of things. I have read 2 of the books in this 4-book collection of The Dying Earth. I guess it's called Tales of the Dying Earth by Jack Vance, or just, yeah, Tales of the Dying Earth by Jack Vance. You can see this copy has gotten kind of bedraggled because I've been carrying it to work, putting it in my bag and stuff. But I initially got this because I love Gene Wolfe. Many of you will remember that I've talked about Gene Wolfe as one of my favorite, used to be able to say favorite living authors. Unfortunately, he passed away not too long ago. but he has written some amazing works of speculative fiction. If you have never read The Book of the New Sun, I highly suggest you check that out. And then sort of in the same universe, there's The Book of the Long Sun and The Book of the Short Sun series that kind of continue, not really the story of The Book of the New Sun, but the mood, the sort of, the spirit, the world of The Book of the New Sun. But that was a fantastic series. I think he started writing it in the early 80s. And it's basically a series dealing with a extremely far future Earth. An Earth where the sun is burning out, the sun is dying, and the Earth is just this kind of moldering remnant of these once great civilizations. And it's kind of degraded into an almost medieval style society, even though there are vestiges of really advanced technology. There are hints that maybe there has been contact with extra solar civilizations and things. It's really cool, and I had always heard that Gene Wolfe was very much influenced by Jack Vance and his Dying Earth novels. So I've always wanted to check it out, and I finally decided I would pick this up. And this is Tales of Dying Earth. It encompasses The Dying Earth, which was sort of a collection of short stories that Vance wrote. I guess he wrote in the 40s, many of them, while he was in the Merchant Marines, maybe? Or he was at least at sea, I think, when he wrote them. It was published, though, in 1950. Then there is The Eyes of the Overworld, which, again, I think is sort of a makeup where it was kind of shorter stories involving the same character that were published in serials and things like that, and then they were compiled into a book, The Eyes of the Overworld. And then Cudgel's Saga, which continues the story of the main character from The Eyes of the Overworld, and then Rialto the Marvelous. And I don't really know anything about that yet because I haven't read it. I have finished The Dying Earth and The Eyes of the Overworld. And I just wanted to give you my impressions. I can definitely see how Gene Wolfe was influenced by this work. It is, again, taking place on an Earth so far distant that none of our societies are even a twinkling in anyone's eye anymore. No one remembers, the United States. No one remembers Europe. It's been so far in the future, like eons and eons into the future, that things have gone so far past our civilization. There are interesting vestiges of advanced technology. There are crumbling cities with flying cars and things like that. But unlike the Gene Wolfe series, there are things in this which you can only describe as magic. In Gene Wolfe's books, there are things that maybe the characters would think of as magic, but it's actually just technology. They just don't understand it anymore. Here, there's definitely magic, at least as far as I can tell so far, and that's after 2 books. So it's definitely more in the fantasy category than speculative fiction. Gene Wolfe, I would say, at least those series were more sci-fi than fantasy. This is more fantasy than sci-fi. But everything from just the vocabulary used, there are certain words that I really keyed in on, like hierarch and oubliette, and things that Gene Wolfe also used, those exact words. It's similar in style. The prose, I think, I'm gonna have to give it to Gene Wolfe. I think Gene Wolfe's prose is a little better, but these are fun stories. They're really interesting. By the time you get through the original Dying Earth, which has kind of just these short stories, each chapter is a different story, I was very intrigued by the world and I wanted to read more. The second novel, which was Eyes of the Overworld, it's really strange because I don't know, I'm still not totally sure how I feel about it. I enjoyed reading it, I enjoyed the setting, I enjoyed the world building. The main character is very picaresque. This is a picaresque novel, meaning, it's about a rogue, it's about a scoundrel. Typically, though, in that genre, the scoundrel would be kind of lovable, and there's nothing lovable about this character, Cudgel the Clever, as he is called. He is a real asshole. And that's fine, I've read plenty of novels where the main character is reprehensible, and that could be okay. But it's just kind of a weird juxtaposition because I'm used to the sort of picaresque genre, and I'm used to like a lovable scoundrel, a Han Solo type, perhaps. This guy I don't know how many people he has inadvertently gotten killed or actually purposefully gotten killed. He has wiped out entire cities by his actions. Every woman he comes into contact with suffers a horrible fate. It's kind of weird. I'm still enjoying the books a lot, and it was kind of fun because I won't give away the end of The Eyes of the Overworld, but by the end of it, you get so frustrated with him and his idiocy, but you still want to see what's going to happen to him. So if you have read Gene Wolfe, I would highly recommend reading Tales of the Dying Earth. Like I said, I've done half of it. I've done two of the books out of the 4. I'm into the 3rd book, and I'm enjoying that as well. If you are a fan of speculative fiction, if you are a fan of, there is actually kind of a whole genre of dying Earth, like a very far future Earth. And I think a lot of people who have read books in that sort of genre may not have read the originator of that genre, who I think you can safely say is Jack Vance in the Dying Earth series. So it's highly recommended. If you are easily offended, you may not want to read the 2nd novel, Eyes of the Overworld, but I don't know, take it for what it is. It's a fun read, and I quite enjoy it. The vocabulary is kind of, might be difficult for some people. You may find yourself needing to look up certain words, but part of that just contributes to the very exotic and esoteric feel of the world that this takes place in. So I highly recommend Tales of the Dying Earth by Jack Vance. It's good. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm doing a video, it'll be out this Wednesday, about Penzance, this 6-year-old jar of Penzance that I have. And I'm not gonna tell you what I thought of it once I actually tried some. No, I'm not gonna tell you. You have to watch the video on Wednesday. But I'm very curious to hear from any of you out there. First of all, how many of you have had Penzance? How many of you really enjoy Penzance? I know there are a lot of people out there who are kind of irritated by the Esoterica blends because they're so scarce. Some people think that a lot of the hype around them is completely manufactured. It's just because of the scarcity. I won't go that far. I think they are a bit overhyped, but they've been universally great. Every Esoterica blend that I've had has been really delicious. Whether or not they are this amazing panacea that people make them out to be, I wouldn't say that. But have you had Penzance? Did you like Penzance? And then have any of you had an aged tin or bag of Penzance? So this one has 6 years on it. It is a Latakia blend, and so I would say 6 years is probably the sweet spot for a Latakia blend. After that, you're gonna start getting diminishing returns. With a Virginia blend, you could go 20 years and you would still be getting, in my opinion, an improvement to the taste. But with the Latakia blend, maybe not so much. The Latakia could mellow to the point where the balance comes out or gets out of whack. The balance of, in this particularly, there's Turkish Orientals, Virginia, and Latakia. And if the Latakia gets too mellow, it might not sit well in the blend anymore. So, have you had Penzance? Do you like Penzance? Have you had aged Penzance? I'm very curious to hear. Let me know in the comments below. And watch the video on Wednesday, because this was quite interesting. It was very interesting to try this aged jar of Penzance. All right, and just for some of the people out there who are curious, people were asking me what I'm using to color correct my videos now, and don't take this as gospel, because whether or not this video looks good, I'm not sure yet. I haven't edited it yet. That's hard to say, but I'm working on it. And one of the things that I got to help me work on that is this. This is a little color checker passport. It's by x-rite. And basically it is an overly expensive little piece of kit, but it's a nice pocket-sized thing where it shows a pure black, a true black, a middle gray, a white. So you can get your white balance from that, you can get your exposure settings from that. And then it has this color chart where you can use that to set color. So what I'll do is when I first start recording a video, this also has in here, it also has a middle gray and then a focus card there. They're not in the glare. You can see that. But what I do, and the thing that makes this special is these colors are supposedly perfect. And there's a coating there that no matter what exposure or lighting you have, they will show up as the proper value of the color. So what I'll do is when I start recording, I hold this here. So it's in the light. It's where it's going to be, basically where my skin is going to be, or where my face is. So it's in focus. It's getting the same lighting that my face is getting, and I just sit here for 5 seconds. So then when I go back and edit, and I already try in camera to get the proper exposure and white balance. And I do white balance by using the Kelvin scale. These lights that I'm using put out 5500K, I think. And so I set my camera to that to get the proper white balance, proper exposure in camera. Then I use this. And then when I edit, I find that clip of me doing that, and I will put a mask in Adobe Premiere Pro. I put a mask around these 3 marks, the black, the middle gray, and the white. And I will use my Lumetri color correction things to see, okay, is the middle gray at 50%? Is the white around 90%? Between 90 and like 95? Is the black between 5 and 10%? I try to get everything there to get the proper balance, proper exposure. Then I will mask out just these colors. I'll see where they match on my little color wheels. And so I'm just trying to get everything to look natural and properly exposed, proper white balance. And that's part of what I'm doing. Some of it is me just getting used to using this stuff. Hopefully by the time you're watching this video, I will have edited it. Sort of sounded right. And it will look good, but I'm working on this. This is one of the tools that I'm using, and some of you were curious about that. So it's the x-rite Color Checker Passport. They make larger cards as well, but this one is nice because I can just fit it in my camera bag. I can take it out whenever I'm recording something, just open it up, get some film footage of that, and then use that when I'm editing later. So if you asked that question, thank you for that. But gang, that's just about it. Like I said, we don't have questions this week in hashtag askstuffandthings because we did not get enough. But if you would like to ask me questions and have them answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag askstuffandthings. You can also ask questions on YouTube comments, or you can leave questions in a comment on YouTube videos. I try to go through those as well and pick out the good questions. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can ask me questions on there as well. But now, it's time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. If you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it helps out a lot. Any video that I do that is specifically about the pipe hobby, I normally can't monetize that, so your contributions to Patreon really help me out there. Helps pay for this fancy camera, these lights, all this good stuff, blends for review, so it's much appreciated. And every week, we thank those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. We name their names. Names like Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Jen O'Side, John Leone, Gloria Phillips, Matt Marino, Joe Heaphy, MDoftheNorth, and of course the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like our good friend Peter Straub. I just spoke to Peter recently. He's doing great. Bob Magee, David Gaudreau, and Ashes of the Phoenix. Bob has never responded to me trying to get him to cash in on his Skype conversation with me. That's part of the tier of the Maniacs. If you support the channels at $100 more a month, you can have a conversation with me for half an hour every 3 months. Now, some of you don't want to do that. Obviously, Bob Magee doesn't want to do that. But David and Ashes of the Phoenix, I have tried to see, do you guys want to have your Skype conversations soon? Let me know. I think I've asked you both on Patreon. If I haven't, that's an oversight, but let's try to schedule that sometime. And gang, that's about it for this week's Sunday Stuff. Be sure to watch the video on this 6-year-old tin of jar of Penzance, which will be premiering this Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific time. And of course, the Valheim series continuing on Stuff and Things Plays every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video, share this video, tell a friend about this video. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a pleasant Sunday. Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. I smashed my finger really badly. with my hammer the other day. Is this gonna show up? You're gonna see the blood blister, but this whole area, the skin is coming off. It's kind of gross, but I don't know if you'll be able to see that.